There we go. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can jump into things. So you should be able to see my screen now. We are looking at the homepage for JobsEQ. So this homepage is where you are going to be able to find all of the tools that you have available to you on your license. Um, just something else to mention in case you don't have the preview selected. We are currently in the process of transitioning our kind of the workflows and just the overall view of JobsEQ. The analytics themselves are staying the same. Anything you have saved or documented, those queries are going to remain accessible. But the overall style of just like the homepage and then this bar on the left is a new look. If you don't have that turned on in your profile section, there's an option to turn on the preview or turn it off. As of December 1st, we will be switching over to this view completely. So if you have not turned on that preview yet, I would advise to do so just to get used to the workflows and such. But it is much more intuitive, much more user-friendly, definitely a nice adjustment. So I will be running the training with that newer view, just so you're aware. All right, so as I stated, this is your all tools page, your home page. At the start of that, you have a nice search bar up here where you're able to search for what you're looking for. It can be a good starting point. Frequently used tools are going to show up right below that. Your most recently used tool will be on the left here with other recently used tools along in that banner. Below that is the My Tools section. So this is where all the tools that you have available to you, all the analytics, reports are going to be listed. This defaults as a grid view where it's going to give you the name of the analytic along with a little blurb about it. You also can use these headings up here to focus in on the sections of analytics you'd like to look at. We also have this list view, more of a list gal myself. So I'm going to put this on list view for us to view, but you do have that option available to you. Alrighty, so our tools are broken up into a couple different sections. We have our big picture tools. These are really great for looking at overarching trends in region, occupational field, industry, or pulling more bulk data. We have our education analytics. These deal with post-secondary awards and confirmations. More, they just didn't easily fit into our other categories. Reports are ready-made reports that can be downloaded to Word or PDF. These pull from analytics all over JobsEQ and compile into that ready-made report. We'll take a look at one of these towards the end, but they can be really great jumping off points for you as they pull from all over JobsEQ. So they could be a good starting point to look at a plethora of information all at once to figure out where you're going next. They're really great for passing off internally or externally as they're those ready-made reports. And as I said, we'll take a look at the end at one of those. We then have our demographic tools. We have demographic profile, which is more of the general demographics of a region coming mostly from the American Community Survey. And then we have our industry and occupation specific demographics data. We have our industry tools, occupation data tools. And then lastly, there are some widgets that you have available to you that can be added to company websites and such. There is a little bit that needs to be done to ensure that those work properly with your websites and everything. So if you are interested in those, feel free to reach out to your CRM and they can help you get those set up. And then I didn't mention, if you have any questions, please feel free to shout those out as we're going through things or drop them in the chat. Either way is great. Sounds great, Kelly. Thank you.
I could spell it right. That would be good. Indianapolis.
So my spelling's not much better, so I'm sure we've struggled with that in a couple of these sessions. So no worries, but thank you. Okay, so before we jump into the analytics, I just want to point out a little bit of the help that is available to you. So on this side ribbon here, you have the live chat button. Live chat is available 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern time. If you reach out to us outside of those hours, we'll get back to you the next business day. We usually respond within about 30 seconds, and we're there to answer any questions about the analytics. If you're looking for something specific, starting a project, something doesn't seem to be working right, whatever it might be, please feel free to reach out to us, and then we're always there to assist. So I just want to point that out. And then the other piece of another chunk of help that's available to you is this within the question mark icon where we have help and resources. we have help documentation. So you'll see as we go through analytics, when you're in a specific analytic, this help documentation will link directly to the document for the analytic that you're in. So that's a nice way to get the definitions of different terms, technical definitions, and then as far as any like data notes and sources and stuff like that can all be found under that help document. All right, and we'll circle back to those at points so we can see how those are used. But yep, so to get started, we are going to take a look at Industry Snapshot. Industry Snapshot is a great tool for looking at the overarching trends within the industries within our region. So we are saying, let's look at Indianapolis or Minneapolis. All right, which one would we like to start with? Indianapolis, maybe, if I can also spell.
Either one.
I like to look at the MSA. Would that be all right?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Cool. Thanks. Yeah, so for the regions, most of our analytics, you're going to start by choosing a region. So we can look at those MSAs. We can look at counties underneath those MSAs. We can look at census defined places. We can look at zip code regions, which we classify as ZICDAs. Those are zip code tabulation areas. And they're very similar to zip codes, but whereas zip codes are run by the Postal Service, the ZICDAs are just a little more consistent. So just so you know, you can look at all different region levels within these analytics. So then after choosing a region, we can choose an industry to focus on. For our purposes to get started here, I'm gonna take a look at total all industries. And then we also can choose a sector of employment if we'd like to focus in on a certain type of employment. For our initial look here, I'm gonna look at total employment. But if you, depending on what you're researching, what you're looking into, you can look at the different types of employment. So we could specify federal government, state, local, private, self-employment. So we can look at those different types of employment. We'll talk about the historical and projection years in just a moment. And then we're going to take a look at the 2-digit NAICS level. Are we familiar with NAICS codes? I think that is yes, but that's just our classification system for our industries, North American Industry Classification System, and our 2-digit are those overarching sectors, so our large industry groups. So we're going to be looking at our Indianapolis MSA total industries at our 2-digit level. So I'm going to go ahead and hit run so we can get this initial data pool. All right, so as I stated, we got our Indianapolis MSA, and we are looking at 2025 Q2 data. We just, as of I believe 2 days ago, we updated to 2025 Q2. So an update's always nice. Sorry, our table here is split up into 3 sections. We have our current, our history, and our forecast sections. Each row in the table is going to correspond to the industry to the left. So our top row here, we have NAICS 62, which is healthcare and social assistance. The table is going to sort by the highest concentration of employment. So within our Indianapolis MSA, our highest concentration of employment is within the healthcare and social assistance field. Okay, so as I stated, we have 3 sections, current, history, and forecast. Our current section is going to start by giving us the current employment within the region. So our healthcare and social assistance, we have 180,000 individuals working within this industry. This number is a 4-quarter moving average, which is utilized to help remove seasonality from the data. And then this value includes both full-time and part-time workers. This data stems from the quarterly census of employment and wages, and that report does not specify between part-time and full-time workers. Therefore, this number is going to include both. So after our current employment values, we have our average annual wages for the industry, and then we have our LQ. LQ stands for location quotient, and that is a ratio of employment in your region versus that of the nation. So for instance, with our healthcare and social assistance within Indianapolis MSA, we have a location quotient of 1.03. So it's very close to the same ratio of healthcare employees within the nation. So there's a very similar ratio of healthcare and industry employees within the Indianapolis MSA versus that of the nation. But then something like our transportation and warehousing here has a location quotient of 1.71. So there is a much greater concentration of transportation and warehousing employees within this region versus the nation. And then conversely, if we have one that's under one, for instance, with our educational services here, since that's 0.8, there's a lower concentration of those employees in this region versus the nation. So it's essentially looking at the concentration of employment within the region. All right, so that is our current section. Following that, we have our history sections. This is taking a look at the history of the industry within our region. The default is going to be a 5-year history, but we can change that from anywhere to 1 to 10 years within our query window over here. So for our 5-year history, it's going to show us the employment change. So over the last 5 years, our healthcare and social assistance industry has grown by 26,000 employees. We can see this then gives us a nice little chart to show us how that employment has trended over the last 5 years. And then we have our annual percentage change. So our healthcare and social assistance industry has grown by about 3.2% per year over the last 5 years. And then something else to point out, any of these headings at the top, if we go ahead and click on them, it's going to sort by that heading. So if I click on employment change, it's now sorting my table by the greatest employment change. If I click it again, it's going to go the opposite direction and show me who has contracted the most over 5 years. So any of these can be clicked on to sort the table by that value. So that is our current and history sections. And then lastly, we have our forecast. So the default here is a 1-year forecast. But again, you can change that in the query window from anywhere from 1 to 10 years. So our forecast is a potential look at our industry within the upcoming year in this case. It's going to give us the total demand. Our total demand is made up of the exits plus transfers plus employment growth. So exits and transfers are defined as separations. They're individuals who are separating from this specific industry. So exits are going to be positions that need filled due to individuals leaving the industry or leaving the workforce altogether. So they're exiting the workforce completely. They're going back to school, they're starting a family, they're retiring, they're completely exiting the workforce and their positions will need filled. Transfers are individuals whose positions will need filled because they're transferring from one field to another. So they're transferring out of healthcare and social assistance into a completely different field. And then our employment growth is the projected growth or contraction that is predicted for the next year. So our healthcare and social assistance is looking to grow by almost 2,000 employees over the next year, which is an annual percentage growth rate of 1%. So as I said, total demand is our exits plus transfers plus employment growth. So if we have, for instance, an industry that is contracting, which I don't think we have one here within our 2-digit sectors in Indianapolis, but if we have something that is projected to lose employees, the exits and transfers can help us see that, hey, we still have these positions that will need to be filled, even though our industry is contracting over the next year. So it gives you more of a whole look at that demand rather than just the growth or contraction. All right, I just said a lot. Any questions for me on any of that? All righty. Then just to point out here, we can export this table to Excel, Word, PDF, or as an image. We can add a couple pieces for comparison. Oh. Yeah, thanks, Nate. Sorry, so we can add a couple regions for comparison. We have this add more here. It's going to we can add 2 other regions to compare. Generally, we're going to be looking at our state and nation, but you can put any other 2 regions in there that you'd like to compare. This comparison piece does only show up within the history section of this report, but it's going to compare that annual percentage change in the region that we've queried for to our other 2 regions. So in this case, we can compare our annual percentage growth rate over the last 5 years in our region versus the state and the nation. So a little comparison piece there. And then we also can utilize this to dig down into a specific industry. So let's say maybe we want to take, let's see, our art, entertainment, and recreation has grown the most over the last 5 years percentage-wise, but we also have our transportation and warehousing here that has grown by quite a lot, and it has that larger location quotient. So maybe we want to take a look into our transportation and warehousing industry to see what specific industries underneath that are driving this growth. So we can go over to where we have our industry total all industry. Yeah, thank you, Nate. Before I dig into this, then I'm going to answer Nate's question here. He asked if we can take a look at the region dropdown and view data at the county level. Yeah, so we can view at the county level. So to kind of see, well, I'm sorry. So we definitely can view data at county levels. We can go up to the state. We can look at census places, ZICTAs, which are those zip code equivalents. So you can look at very small regions, or you can look at those larger regions as well. Under this more options here, we can preview the region we're looking at, and there's also this explore regions here, which gives us some of the different options of region types that we can take a look at. So any custom regions, which we're going to take a look at next here, any custom regions that you have or that have been shared with you are going to live there. There's college service areas, we have the county, CSAs, MSAs, states, all those different different region types that we can take a look at. And if we hit these drop downs, it's going to list a bunch of them, which may be a little more than we want to just sift through, but you can look things up here as well. And then you also can just type in the region box and it's going to populate with the regions that match what you're typing in. Thank you for the question, Nate. All right. So then, as I was saying before, we can take a look into a specific industry and dive down to see what is driving the growth within the overall industry. So where I have total all industries here, I can type in 48 or transportation and warehousing. We can also use this magnifying glass here where it says explore industries, and that's going to bring up all of the different industry sectors, and then we can work our way down through those drop downs to find the industry that we're looking for, or we can just type them in, but just so that you know that that's there for you. So I typed in 48 for transportation and warehousing, and then I'm going to change the NAICS level from 2-digit to 6-digit. So 2-digit was these are overarching sectors. 6-digit is going to show us the very specific industries underneath transportation and warehousing. So I'm going to go ahead and hit run here. So now we are looking at our transportation and warehousing industries within our Indianapolis MSA. Again, this table is sorting by by the most employment to the least employment. So our general warehousing and storage has our most employment within our Indianapolis MSA here, about 40,000 employees. It has grown by almost 9% per year over the last 9 years. Which definitely can be contributing to that overall growth that we're seeing within the industry. So it's just another way that we can dive down into the data and get that overarching look and then dive down into the specifics. If we scroll to the bottom of the table, it's going to give us some summary data here as well. So at the very bottom, we're going to have these same data points for total all industries, and then for transportation and warehousing, since that's what we queried for. So those overarching aggregate regions or aggregate industries are at the bottom there. All right. Any other questions with industry snapshot before we segue over to look at some custom regions? Righty. So to reach where we can create custom regions, it's going to be in this sidebar here. We're going to go to our customs section. So within custom, this is where we can create different customizations within JobsEQ. So we're going to take a look at creating a custom region. And we could create custom industry groups, custom occupation groups, which we'll look at making a custom occupation group on the fly in a little bit. But this is where all of your customizations live. So we're looking at regions here, and we can, you're looking at custom regions that I have created. Um, you can search for those custom regions by the name of the custom region or who owns it. So we'll look, once we create a region, at how we can share those with others. So if you're looking for something that was shared with you, there's some different options up there for you. So to create a new region, we're going to go to New over here. And we are now editing a custom region. So this can be really great for putting like your service region together. Maybe you serve in generally a couple different counties. We can add those couple different counties together here to make a custom region that is just those 3 counties. And then you can utilize this custom region within JobsEQ to pull aggregate data for those couple counties, drive times, radius. There's a couple different options here for you. All right, so let me start by getting us where in an area that we want to be. Okay. All right, so we have our custom region here. Our first step is going to be to give our custom region a name. Once we have given our custom region a name, we can choose to share this region. So if you click this button here, once you save your region, it's going to be shared with everyone on your license. So if you're working on a project with your team or with a couple other individuals and you want to make sure that everyone is utilizing the same region definition, you can go ahead and create the region, share it, and then everyone will have access to that region. They'll be able to search for it by name within the analytics around JobsEQ, and it'll show up in that custom section of the region exploration tab that we took a look at. But they will not be able to go in and change it. So only the author of the custom region will be able to go in and edit it, but everyone else that is on your license, if you share it, will be able to utilize it. All right, so next to that, we have that our custom region is in draft mode, which is good because we have not saved it yet. We also have some options for the base map here. So if you're not a fan of the base map that's down there, there are a couple different options. And then lastly, over here, we have our region resolution. Region resolution is going to be the building blocks that are utilized to build your custom region. So we currently have that set to county. So this would be taking different counties and pulling them together as the building blocks to create our big overarching region. The other option that we have available to us is going to be ZICTA, which ZICTA, as we said, stands for zip code tabulation areas. And that instead is going to use zip codes or those ZICTAs as our building blocks. And we'll take a look at the importance of switching that up to ZICTA once we get to our radius and drive time regions. Yes. Oh, sorry, Mark, go ahead.
Oh, a quick question about how we're talking about county and then beyond the county. How about going within the county too? And was that where I'd use zip codes if I just wanted to grab I mean, it's not perfect because zip codes do cross Minneapolis boundary, but oftentimes we are asked for very specific stuff about Minneapolis. Is that a region that can be grabbed?
Yeah,
Just
so
the
with
city?
Just the city of Minneapolis, yes. So we have census designated places already built into our regions.
Okay.
So you'll, so like if I go to search here just to show, don't make fun of my spelling, I'm so sorry.
Sorry. EA.
I see it there now, thank you. Yeah, so we have
There it is,
Minneapolis City.
census
Yes.
place. Okay.
Yep, so you can utilize that region within most of the analytics around JobsEQ. Some don't go all the way down to the census place level, but the majority do.
Okay, great. So we can do Minneapolis. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, yep, you're welcome. And then I'll also, before we're done in the chat, I'll put a link to, it's one of the help pages, but it shows what region level each analytic goes down to. So it's kind of like a cheat sheet to view if you'll be able to look at the census place or not for that analytic. Which I'll drop in the chat before we're done. Don't forget. Alrighty. But then also within this, as far as that goes, you can also build the regions by ZICTA. So if you wanted to look at like a portion of Minneapolis, maybe a specific zip code or two within there, you also can build those. All right. Thank you for the question. Okay, so to build these regions, we have a couple different options. We can select the region. So if we're very familiar with what we're working with, we can just go through and select a couple regions, and those counties in this case are going to be added to our custom region. If we're not as familiar with the exact locations of these counties, we can type the regions. This is also where you could, like, if you wanted to include an MSA and then a couple surrounding counties, you could type in an MSA here. Like we could add our Indianapolis MSA, and then we could add a couple other counties maybe we wanted to add with the MSA. But we can just type in those different regions to add them to our custom region. Any questions on the select or typing? Do we want to build? Is there like a service region that is made up of a couple counties that anyone utilizes that we could build, or does it make sense? Do you have questions? Sorry. All right. So then along, oh yeah.
I was just going to say, now's your chance. If you got something going on and you know of a region, let it be the example. Learn.
It's okay if not to. We can go on to the next one. Right. So that is the select and the type. So those are pretty standard. And then the other options that you have available to you are to build these custom regions by radius or drive time. So this we could take a look at the labor shed around a specific address or around a specific latitude, longitude. We can look at the drive, like what labor shed or different employees exist within the drive time from an address or a latitude, longitude. So for instance, if we take a look at drive time, let's say I want to take a look at a 45-minute drive time, and then I can either enter an address, latitude, longitude, or click a place on the map. So maybe I want to see a 45-minute drive time from Indianapolis. So I can go ahead and click on Indianapolis, and that's going to make that my center point for my drive time. So then this orange blob that it has produced is our drive time region around Indianapolis for a 45-minute drive time. So the thing with the drive time and the radius is that it's going to pull data from every region that it crosses and touches. So remember, our region resolution is the building blocks that our region will be built out of. So since we have our region resolution set to county, it's going to pull every county that it crosses or touches. So like we have this little bit that spans into this county up here, but it's going to pull data for that entire county, which obviously is much larger than the region we're trying to take a look at. So this is where we really want to change that region resolution from county to ZICTA. So now instead of pulling that entire county, it's pulling the ZICTA that it touches or crosses. So it's still going to be a little bit larger than this orange spider webbing blob here, but it's going to be much closer to that 45-minute drive time than if we were looking at counties. We also have block level data that's available as a add-on. The block level gets even smaller then, and that's really seems to be used mostly by individuals who are looking at very small regions, because then you can get down into those blocks and develop some very small custom regions. But so with the ZICTA, we're going to get a much closer custom region to our drive time here. So then just to show the difference between our blob here and what the final region will look like, I'm going to go ahead and give this a name. I'm going to call it 45-minute drive time. This. And I'm going to go ahead and hit save. We can also hit save and compile now. Either way, that will save our region. And it's compiling. All right, so then now that this region is compiled, I have a couple other options at the top here. Now we have this region preview option. So we have the orange blob down here, and if we go ahead and click region preview, this is going to show us what that drive time region is going to look like that I'm actually pulling the data for. So this is what the final region that I will be utilizing in JobsEQ that I'll be pulling data for looks like. So you can view that. And then maybe you're like, it's a little bigger than what I was thinking. So maybe we need to drop it down to a 40-minute drive time or something like that. But you can see the differences there between your region and the final region. Also here, you can export the shape file for the region you created. Any questions on radius or drive time regions?
So I'm assuming that if you were to hit run analytics, you could
Yep.
still build the same types of searches or reports that we were talking about before.
Yep. Yeah. So if you hit run analytics, it's like a shortcut to some different analytics that you could utilize the region in.
Okay, perfect.
But yes, so since we have saved this region, if I go into an analytic and search 45-minute drive time Indianapolis, that'll pop up as a region that we can utilize. And I'll show you where that lives too within our region search. So just here, one other thing I want to say, if you're working with like a list of counties or a list of ZICDAs that you need to add to create a custom region, you can bulk import those. So you can either select a file and upload it, or you can copy and paste them here with line breaks or commas. So if you're working with, you need to throw a lot of things into one region, that's going to be the quickest way there for you. All right. Any other questions before we move on to our next analytic? All right, so next we are going to take a look at occupation snapshot. As the names would suggest, it is very similar to industry snapshot, except we're looking at occupation data now. And then just to show for our custom region that we had saved and created, if I go to this more here by our regions and hit explore regions, up in my customs here, if I hit this drop down, my customs, I have a lot of custom regions, but it is here on this list available to use. You also can type the name in to the bar. So we have 45-minute drive time, and it's going to show up there for us. And the same thing will happen if you share it with if you share a region with everyone on your license, you would just see that under your customs and then shared by others. That would show up there. But also you'll be able to search for it. All right, so our analytic here is occupation snapshot. And as we stated, and as you can see, it looks very similar to our industry snapshot setup, very similar display here. So first we're going to take a look at, we have to choose a region. Do we want to switch it up and look at Minneapolis? We can look at the city. That sounds good.
Yeah, that'd be great. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Is always a challenge.
No, you're good. Yeah. All right. So we'll take a look at Minneapolis, the city. And then does anyone have an occupational field that they would like to take a look at or that they may be working with?
I always just go healthcare. It's just such a massive industry in so many regions, right? So
for sure. Practitioners and technical occupations or the support occupations?
let's go support occupations.
Sounds good. Okay, and then we'll take a look at the 6-digit SOC codes underneath or 2-digit healthcare support occupations.
Yep.
So we're looking at those specifics. And then just like in industry snapshot, we can take a look at different types of employment, but I'm going to leave it on total just so we get that overall view. And then we have our historical and projection years as well. And then we can choose a wage type, either mean or median.
Okay.
And then I'm going to go ahead and hit run so we can see this poll. So we're looking at our healthcare support occupations within Minneapolis, and our data is for 2025 Q2. And then just like with industry snapshot, each row of our table is going to correspond to our occupation all the way to the left. And it is going to sort our table by the largest employment. So within our healthcare support occupations, our largest group of employees can be found within the personal care aides occupation. And then again, this number, it's a 4-quarter moving average to remove that seasonality. And then this data also stems from the QCEW. So this is going to include full-time and part-time.
Full-time and part, yep.
Yep. Awesome. So that is our employment there. And then we have our mean annual wages, which we can change to that median depending on what we want to view. We have our location quotient again, the LQ. So If we're right at 1, we have an equal representation to the nation. Greater than 1, we have a higher than average. Less than 1, lower than average.
Looks like Minneapolitans are not going after dental care recently, so.
Yeah. Yes.
All the other ones are looking all right, but
Yeah.
apparently we don't. We trail the nation
It's
in our
grown
ability to
though.
get care.
That's strange, isn't it? Yeah.
It's grown though. For what that's worth. But yeah, maybe they're going outside of Minneapolis for that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we're suburban dental care. That's probably true, actually. So,
All
all
right.
right.
So yeah. So then with our current section, with occupation snapshot, we get a little more information about those who are unemployed. We have the number of individuals who are unemployed within the region in the occupation, and then the unemployment rate for those.
Okay.
And then we also have this online job ad section, which the online job ads, the lowest level it goes down to is county. So since we're looking at a place, these state NA, but I'm going to switch to a county just so that we can see those values there. What county are you in Minneapolis?
Oh, we're in Hennepin
Sorry.
County.
Hennepin.
Hennepin County.
HENN. E.
Thank you.
There it is.
Thank
That's
you.
right.
Just to show the online job ads. So this is a sampling of our, you all have access to RTI, which is our on job ads database, which we will take a look at in a couple of minutes in greater detail. But this is just a spot where those job ads pop up as little support data. These are the job ads that have been active within the region in the last 30 days. So within Hennepin County, personal care aides, there have been 186 job postings for those positions within the last 30 days. So if we go ahead and click on that 186, it's going to bring up those specific job postings. It's going to show us the job title, the employers, the reported location, the start date of the job posting, the end date or if it's active, and then any wage data that was able to be pulled from the job posting. And then just to show it, so if you export this, export to Excel or Word PDF, these links can be utilized by anyone, even if they don't have a JobsEQ license. So once you export it, if you're working with some job seekers, maybe they're looking for these, like I said, we'll get into much more detail about RTI and all the specifics behind it in a couple minutes. But if we click on these job ads here, so this caregiver, it's going to take us to JobsEQ's version of the job posting. So even if the job posting gets taken down, the job posting details itself are saved here. And then if the job is still up, we can click view original, and it's going to take us to the original job posting, which this one comes from LinkedIn. And then, as I said, you can export this, send this off to anyone, even if they don't have a JobsEQ license, and they'll be able to access those links. So it could be really great for individuals who are working with job seekers to get them those direct job postings. Back to our city. All right, so that is our current section. And then following our current section, we have our 5-year history, which again, we can change in the query window anywhere from 1 to 10 years. So our personal care aides over the last 5 years within Minneapolis have grown by almost 4,000 employees at a rate of 8.9% per year. We'll notice we don't have that nice little chart there anymore. But if you'd like to produce a chart for the employment, we can go over to the left here to this little bar graph and click that. And it's going to show us the trends of employment over the last 5 years, and then for our projection window as well. All right, so that is the history section. And then following our history section, we have our forecast, which is set up the same way. We have our total demand, exits, transfers, employment growth, and then our annual percentage growth. So just to reiterate, exits are positions that will need filled due to individuals leaving the workforce completely. They're exiting to start a family, go back to school, they're retiring, and their positions will need filled. Transfers are individuals who are transferring out of, in this case, personal care aides and into a different occupational field. And then the employment growth is the projected growth or contraction over the next year. Total demand are those 3 values added up. And then our annual percentage growth is the annual projected growth per year or contraction. Any questions on any of that? So just like with industry snapshot, if we scroll down to the bottom, we have those aggregate rows. We have our total all occupations data and our healthcare support occupations data. We can add that same comparison piece like we could within industry snapshot. And again, it's going to show that comparison for the historical change in employment. So comparing our city to the state and the nation in this case, but you can put any two other regions for comparison in there. Something else we can do here, since we're looking at very specific occupations, if I were to go ahead and click on one of those, so maybe we want to learn more, let's say we have someone that's looking to become a dental assistant and we want to view more about what it takes to become a dental assistant, we can hit this occupation, we click on dental assistants, then click occupation profile. And this is going to bring up some information about the occupation. So it's going to give us a little blurb about what a dental assistant is. It's going to say, hey, here's some education and training requirements. It's going to show us any post-secondary opportunities within the region. So within Minneapolis, we have Minnesota Community and Technical College, which has a dental assistance program. And in the 2024 school year, they conferred 53 certificates and 2-year degrees. And then we also have our dental services and allied professions down here from the University of Minnesota Twin Cities. So it links a little bit of those awards data to here. This also gives us a little look at wages. So it gives us the mean, entry level, and experienced. And then if we were looking at a larger region, it's going to show us some industries down here that connect to our occupation. And then it's going to give us some attributes. So if we're working with an individual that wants to go into dental assisting, here's some knowledge and then abilities that are important to know and have to be a successful dental assistant. And they're rated on a scale of 0 to 100 of importance. Where does the training provider information? Oh, this very first section here. The education and training requirements come from the BLS.
Okay. And then I thought I saw where there were so they're not actual training providers.
Well, it has the post-secondary.
Okay,
Yeah, yep. So that comes from iPads.
Okay, so it's just the pulling those. So it wouldn't pull like a local, training provider that maybe offers training towards this particular occupation.
No, unfortunately not. This is just going off the awards data that iPads puts out.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for clarifying.
Yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, and then yep, we'll talk about that in just a minute, Nate, about the data sources there. Yes, so that's occupation profile. And then I'm gonna run back here. Nate asked about the data sources that are used to determine the occupational projections and categories of those exits and transfers and such. So I'm gonna run to the help page just so that I can point at some things and I don't misspeak. So to get to those help pages, like we talked about earlier, we go to the help and resources, and then where it says get JobsEQ help, we have the help documentation for occupation snapshot. So it links us directly to that help page. So for the projections, the main data source that's utilized is going to be the national projections from the BLS that are current forecast for 2024 to 2034. So that is like the basis of the projection, but then we pull in different regional growth patterns and different data sets to make it more applicable to the region that we are viewing. But those, like I said, that main information is coming from the BLS forecast. But I am uncertain if that is specific to the exits and transfers. Yeah, I might have to do a, oh, here we go. So unfortunately, I don't have knowledge of this enough to summarize it very nicely. I can drop the link to this in the chat and then I can review it after and summarize it and send you the specifics. Nate, sorry, I know you can't talk to me. Apologies. But then I also will I'll write that down for me and then I will look through all this and I will give you like the nice, here's where those are coming from. I can send that to you in an email if you want to throw your email in the chat for me. Oh yeah, so I don't believe we pull RTI in, but I'll look into that as well to see if that's pulled in at all. I don't recall, but we also have been doing a lot more with RTI as that data set keeps growing, so it might be pulled in somewhere, and I'll double check that. Thank you so much for the questions, and if you want to drop your email in there, I can shoot you an email later on once I do a little research. It's email address. Thank you so much. Any other questions at the moment about occupation snapshot before we take a look at creating a custom occupation group on the fly? Righty. Something else that we can do here, if we are, let's say, doing some research into our healthcare support occupations within Minneapolis, and we have a couple that we want to dive a little deeper into to take a look at, we can use these little check boxes on the side here to create a custom occupation group. So maybe we want to focus in on a couple of these to take a look at a little deeper into them. Maybe we want to take a look at our nursing assistants, maybe our medical assistants. We'll throw our phlebotomists on there, dental assistants. And now that we have a couple of those checked, up at the top, we have this create group option. So if we go ahead and hit create group, it's going to prompt us to name the group. And then we will be able to look at that group of occupations together within any analytics around JobsEQ. So I'm going to go ahead and call this oops, support focus group. And then just like with the regions, we can go ahead and share that. So if this was a occupation group that you wanted others on your license to be utilizing for a certain project or whatnot, you can share that as well. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And then it's going to say, hey, here's some other analytics that you might want to use this custom occupation group in. And our next analytic we are going to take a look at is occupation wages. So I'm going to go ahead and click occupation wages here. And then I'm going to take out this comparison for a moment so we can take a look. All right, so occupation wages is a little more detailed wage data about our occupations. So now instead of looking at our entire group of stock 31, we're looking at those specifics that we check to make a part of that occupation group, our healthcare support focus group. And then this is giving us our mean wages along with entry level and experience values, and then our percentiles at 10, 25, median, and so on, percentile groups of our wage data. If we don't want to view the annual values, we can click this hourly wage and hit run, and it's going to translate those into their hourly wages. And then as we saw when we first popped in here, we can add comparison regions, which are just going to compare the mean wages to our other two comparison regions. So the other thing that we can do with this analytic, aside from viewing these wage data, we have another query type here called labor availability. So if we are working with an employer who's looking to hire within our occupations here that we're taking a look at, which I'm going to find our custom occupation group again here. Under customs, my custom focus group. Cool. So now we're just focusing on our 4 occupations here. And we're looking at the 6-digit level. And then we're setting a wage threshold. So essentially this is going to show us how many individuals within our region, within these occupational fields, are making at or below this value or above this value. So maybe I want to throw, let's say $20 an hour in here and hit run. That might have been a little too low. I'm going to put it up to 25. That looks a little better. All right, so essentially what this is doing is looking at in this case, our 4 occupations that we have in our focus group here. It shows us the total number of employed individuals in those fields within Minneapolis. And then it shows us how many of those individuals make at or below that threshold and how many make above that threshold. So if I'm trying to hire a dental assistant and I want to pay them $25 an hour, I'm probably not going to have much luck because everyone makes above that threshold. Very similarly with my medical assistants, $25 an hour might not pull the best or the most talent because the majority are making above that threshold. So it's another way to leverage the wage data and look at it comparatively as a whole of what are individuals making, what are they willing to work for, and such. Any questions on anything from occupation wages here? So following occupation wages, we're going to jump on over to RTI. So RTI is our job postings database within JobsEQ. So it's popping up that this analytic is unavailable for the region type because we had Minneapolis, the city in here, and the lowest region type that we can query for within RTI is our county levels. But we do have ways to look at the regions that are underneath of our county. So we can still look at the places and such, which we will take a look at how to do once we look at our initial data pool here. So I'm going to take a look at Hennepin County, Minnesota. And then this initial pool is looking at all the job ads that are active during the last 12 months. So we can take a look at newly posted, closed during, currently active, and then there are a couple different default timeframes, or you can set your own custom timeframe. So for our initial pool here, we are going to look at jobs that were active during the last 12 months within our Hennepin County. At this point, I believe we are up to 45,000 different sources that we crawl daily for these job postings. Those 45,000 sources include company websites, they include state job board aggregators, they include other aggregators such as LinkedIn, Indeed. And once the jobs are pulled from all of those different sources, they are deduplicated against each other to ensure that only one version of each job posting makes it into the database. Because as we know, a company may post a job on their website, it might get picked up by a state job board, they might also post it to LinkedIn. So we want to make sure that each job posting is only represented once within our database. So once those job postings are downloaded and deduplicated against each other, sorry, bye Deb if you've already left.
Bye, thank you.
Yeah, have a good one, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Right. So, so once those jobs have been downloaded, deduplicated, they are then sorted into different occupational groups, and then we pull a bunch of different data from those job postings. So within our Hennepin County, we have in the last 12 months, we have 230,000 jobs that were active. Those 230,000 jobs were sorted and classified into 890 different occupations. They were reported from almost 10,000 different locations. There were 22,000 employers. Excuse me, so many different job titles. And then we're also pulling hard skills, soft skills that are mentioned within the job posting, any years of experience that are mentioned, education levels, any educational programs, certifications, and then the type of job. So this little sidebar here is like the stats of the overall report that has been pulled here. So to take a look through the initial report, at the very top here, we have this lovely chart, which is showing us the job ads that were active in this past year. That's the blue line here, is the amount of job ads that were active this year. And then we have the gray line back here, which is for the previous year. So we can compare the jobs that were posted last year to the jobs that have been posted this past year. And then below that, we have the occupations for the job postings. So this is going to sort by the most job postings, which in this case was within our medical and health services managers, had the most job postings within Hennepin County within the last 12 months. So much like with occupation snapshot, how we had those values that we could click on by the active job ads in the last 30 days, we can go ahead and click on these values here, and it's going to pull up those job postings underneath that category. So since we are looking at that specific occupation here, it's going to pull up all of those job postings for that specific occupation, which, as we can see, this is the same setup as that pop-up within occupation snapshot, where we have the job title, the employer, reported location, which this one looks like it was for a couple locations. And then we have the start date, end date if it's applicable, and then any wage data that was pulled from the job posting. And then just like with occupation snapshot, if we go ahead and click on our job title, it's going to take us to JobsEQ's version of the job posting. View original is going to take us to that original job posting. All right, so it defaults to showing 10 occupations. You can change that if you want to look at a bigger group there. Yeah, so those are our occupations. And then after that, we have the locations that those job postings were reported at. So it's showing us the reported locations right now. So this is where we can see Minneapolis is on there, the cities and such. We can change this if we wanted to look at county specifically, depending on what regions we're looking at there. But that is one way that we can focus in on the smaller regions that are within our county, as it's showing us the reported locations. And we'll talk about how we can filter by those as well shortly. So after locations, we have employers. So if we wanted to see all the jobs that were posted by Wells Fargo, we could go over here and click on this 2,110, and that would show us all the jobs that were posted from Wells Fargo. We have the job titles that were asked for, any hard skills that were asked for, soft skills, years of experience, education levels that were asked for, any educational programs that were asked for specifically, certifications, and then the type of job. So whether it's full-time, remote, part-time, temporary, so on. So any of these sections that we've taken a look at, we can filter by. So for instance, if we only want to see jobs that are in Minneapolis, we can go over here to our location filter, and we can throw Minneapolis in here. We can use Minneapolis, Minnesota, or we can just say that job postings whose location contains Minneapolis. So then that would include this Minneapolis here, along with like this guy down here where it has the zip code for it. So rid of that. So if we do contains Minneapolis and apply, that is now going to take our job postings from the entirety of our county to those that whose reported location was Minneapolis. Which, I mean, you may need to mess with the filters to get it to be specifically the region that you're looking for, but that is one way to accomplish that. So then along with the filters for location, we can filter, like I said, by any of the categories that we have listed here. For instance, I've worked with some clients where they work with specific employers, and maybe an employer wants to check out their competition. So if we had someone who was a competitor of Deloitte, we could go to employers and we could type Deloitte into our employers. And then the data that we're now viewing are specific to that employer. So we can see what hard skills and soft skills and certificates and such that Deloitte is looking for. And maybe we could even get more specific and put in a specific occupation or job title. So then we know specifically for that occupation, Deloitte is looking for someone who has these skills. And then we could say, okay, take that back to the employer and say, hey, your competition is looking for these skills, these certificates. How does that match up with what you guys are doing? And so on and so forth. But that's one way to look at it. If we're working with job seekers, we could put in our job seekers education level, our job seeker certificates, different things that our job seeker has that that they'd like to look for jobs within that range. We could put in the filters that work with our job seeker, and then we're going to get job postings that are applicable to them. We also have the key search by a keyword option. So if you're looking for like a specific zip code, so specific ZICTA, the job postings that were posted to there, you could put a zip code in here. If you were looking for job postings that contain like a certain word, like for someone was looking for anyone that was had Amazon warehouse, AWS stuff in there. So they were throwing Amazon down in their keyword search because they were looking for ones that specifically had that. But yeah, a lot of different options here. It's a lot of data and a lot of different ways to query it. Any questions on my rant there, or anything you'd like to see, any questions if it's possible, we can step through any of those.
That's good. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So along with our searches that we can do here, we also can set up alerts. So if you're working with job seekers, or if you're working with a department that works with job seekers, you can set up these alerts. The alerts essentially, oops, I want to create a new alert. The alerts essentially are going to send you weekly, daily or weekly updates of jobs that are newly posted or newly closed. So to start, we would be selecting our region that we would like to pull job postings for. We would set up any filters for those job postings. And then if we just want the job postings, or if we're interested in different sections of those job postings, and then we put our email address in here. The email that's put in here has to have a JobsEQ license, but once the alert is sent to your email, it can be shared with whoever and they'll be able to access the links within it. And then we can choose if we want it to be triggered by new jobs, closed jobs, new and closed jobs, and then if we want those daily or weekly. So whether you're working with job seekers directly, or you work adjacent to someone that works with job seekers, it could be helpful. Or if you're working on certain research projects and you need updated jobs that are closed or opened, different options there, but a way to get some of that data to your email. All right, so that is RTI. If as you get in to looking at this on your own, if you have any questions about RTI, or you're trying to set up a specific query, we have the help documentation that's there for RTI, but don't forget, we also have the live chat. And we're more than happy to help you set up a query with an RTI or export specific data, whatever it might be, to get you where you need to be. All right, so that is RTI. The next thing we are going to take a look at is going to be our skills gap analytics. So skills gap is actually using some of the data that we are pulling from RTI, as well as we have another tool called resume forensics, which is pulling data from LinkedIn, or I'm sorry, resumes that have been posted to LinkedIn. So this can give us a look at any skill surpluses or deficits that may exist within our region. So it defaults to this chart view. We're looking at our Hennepin County, Minnesota. We're looking at our healthcare support focus groups. That was just those 4 occupations within healthcare support. And then it has our chart here. It's showing us we have some possible deficits within these different skills and certificates. And then here are some possible surpluses that we have. So if we go into the table view, we can view the actual data that's going into this. So for instance, with our licensed practical nurse, our LPN certificate, we had 34 candidates that had this certificate within our region. Those candidate numbers are coming from the resumes that are being pulled from LinkedIn. And then the openings, in this case 237, are the job postings that have been active within the county that asked for an LPN certificate. So another good example here is caregiving. We have no candidates that put caregiving on their resume, but we have 92 openings that ask for caregiving as a skill. Someone who has caregiving skills, who's applying for some kind of healthcare support occupation, may not think to put caregiving as a skill on their resume. But we know that there are a good amount of jobs that are asking for that skill. So if we're working with job seekers or trying to help job seekers to have better success with finding jobs, we may suggest that they add some of these skills to their resume to help them get noticed by the employers who are asking for those skills. So I see this a lot too with like Microsoft, so like Microsoft Office, Microsoft Word. Those will show up on this list as having deficits, or calculators, stuff that individuals may not think to put on their resumes. And then we also have to take into consideration that not everyone within the region is going to have a resume uploaded to LinkedIn, and not every job posting is posted online or caught by our system. Like we crawl a vast amount of websites and such, but there is the possibility that there's something that we're not crawling, so there could be more job postings or more candidates, but this can give us an idea of the skills of those within our region. Any questions on that? Alrighty, so that is skills gap. The next analytic we're going to take a look at is occupation gap. So where skills gap was very straightforward with our candidates, thanks Nate, where skills gap is a little more straightforward with we took our candidates minus our job postings or our positions. Occupation gaps is the words I'm looking for are failing me. It's more of there's prediction that goes into it. It's a forecast. We are looking either 3, 5, or 10 years into the future. So it's not going to be that straightforward. We're subtracting a couple numbers to get these gaps. This is something that's being forecasted. So we're going to stick with Hennepin County, and then we'll take a look at our healthcare support occupations over the next 10 years, and we'll take a look at the 6-digit level. So we're looking at our specific occupations. And I'm going to go ahead and hit run. So this is showing us within Hennepin County, there are a couple deficits that we may be looking at over the next 10 years. And these are the annual occupation gaps. So annually, we're looking like we may be short about 16 medical assistants, 10 nursing assistants, 6 massage therapists, etc. And we have a possible supply surplus in a couple occupational fields as well. So this model is taking a look at the occupational demand growth, so how much the occupations are projected to grow, and it's comparing that to the population's growth and their projected educational attainment. So just to reiterate, we're looking at how much the occupation is projected to grow, and then we're comparing that to how much our population will grow and what their projected educational attainment is. So again, not as straightforward as just subtracting a couple numbers, but it's comparing occupation growth to the population's growth and if they will be educated enough to fill the positions. And then just to show the table view to show some of the values that are present here, it's going to show us that annual supply gap, the projected annual supply gap or surplus, depending on which end of the table we're looking at. It's going to show us our current employment as of 2025 quarter two, the annual growth demand, so the annual projected growth or contraction, the annual separation demand. If you recall from industry and occupation snapshot, we had those exits and transfers. Those are separations. They're leaving, they're separating from the workforce, exiting or transferring. So annual separation demand are those exits plus transfers. Total annual demand is the annual growth demand plus the annual separation demand. And then it shows us the projected employment as of the end of our time period. So in this case, 2035. So it gives us a little information about the occupation, and then that projected annual supply gap or surplus. Any questions on occupation gaps? So then our next analytic that we're going to take a look at, we're going to segue over to some demographics data. So to start, we're going to take a look at occupation diversity. So occupation diversity is going to take a look at the demographics for a specific occupational field. So in this case, we're looking at Hennepin County, Minnesota, and we're looking at our healthcare support occupations. So this is our general demographics data for those who are working within this region and occupational field. So we have some age breakdown data, age buckets, educational attainment. We have these nice pretty colorful bars, or you can switch it up to a different look here by clicking at the top. Each of these individuals can also be exported and added to presentations or whatever you're working on. So that was the educational attainment, race, ethnicity, gender, and then education and training requirements for the occupations underneath healthcare support occupations. So that is the chart view. Also available here is a table view. So with the table view, you just have to choose a specific category. That you'd like to take a look at. So for instance, if we take a look at educational attainment, and I'm going to change this to the 6-digit SOC so we can see our specific occupations underneath healthcare support. And I'm going to go ahead and hit run. So this table that it populated here, we have our occupations within our healthcare support occupations. And then it gives us a breakdown by place of residence of how many employees have achieved different educational attainment levels. So we have how many less than high school, some college, and so on. It shows us the total employed, and then it gives us a little bit of information just for the occupation in general. It shows us the average annual wages, the forecasted growth, and then the unemployment rate as well. So that's the educational attainment table. A category that exists here that does not exist in the chart is going to be the underemployment. So if I go ahead and click run here, this is showing us individuals who may be underemployed within their occupational field. Our definition for underemployment comes from the New York Fed, where they state that someone is underemployed if they have a bachelor's degree and they're working in a field that does not require a bachelor's degree. So essentially, they're overeducated for the position that they're in. So if we take a look here at our healthcare support occupations, we have our personal care aides. There are 28,000 personal care aides within our region, and about 8,000 of them are underemployed for the position that they're in. So this can help us to identify populations that could benefit from some career upcycling to help them to possibly reach those higher positions and utilize the degrees and education that they have. Any questions with occupation diversity here, or anything you'd like to see?
Was that just a tab on the main page? Did I see? I didn't see that. I missed it when you clicked on it.
I'm so sorry. I accidentally clicked the tab from the top of my screen and drug it over. I did not mean to do that. So I don't know if that's what you're
Oh no,
referring to,
I didn't. I want to see where you found that, like from the main page.
Oh,
Is it just the occupation diversity?
Yeah. So sorry. So from the homepage, under my
Oh, you have it on
tools.
frequently. Okay. Yeah.
Yep. So then under the my tools, yours might have a grid view, but it's going to be under demographics.
Demographics. Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Thank
And then
you.
it's occupation demographics. Yep. And then I changed it to the table view.
Table view. Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. Thanks.
Yeah, for sure. Any other questions? Alrighty, so then we are going to take a look at demographic profile, and then we're going to take a look at our maps analytic, a report, and then we'll call it a day, and I'll be able to answer any other questions that you guys have. So we're going to take a look at demographic profile. So demographic profile is the general demographics for a region. The majority of these data come from the American Community Survey. If they're from somewhere else, it's noted within the table. Our demographics profile is made up of 4 different tables. We have our summary table, unemployed table, household income, and region stats. So we'll start with our summary table here. So we're looking at demographics data for Hennepin County, Minnesota. We have, it gives us to start some general demographics. So our population, gender splits, age buckets, race, ethnicity. It gives us some population growth information, economic data, some labor force participation rates, those who work from home, veterans, armed forces labor force, gives us some educational attainment data for those who live within our region, ages 25 to 64, some housing data, and then some social data. This table has this current view that we're looking at where we also can add a couple comparison regions. So if we add our comparison regions here, you can put any other 2 regions in here. So if you want to pull these data for 3 different regions, this would probably be the quickest way to pull for 3 regions at once. But in this case, we'll look at the state and the nation. So I'm going to go ahead and hit run. And it's going to pull each data point for all 3 of the regions. So unlike with industry snapshot, occupation snapshot, where it was only applicable to some of the analytic, this is going to pull for all 3 regions. So we can compare those side by side. So along with our current view, we also have a historical view. The historical view, these data points are going to run from 2011 to 2023. The American Community Survey recently put out their 2024 one-year estimate, but we build these tables based off the 5-year estimates. The 2024 5-year estimate is set to come out in December. So as long as that comes out in December, hopefully soon after, early January, soon after, we will have these data updated to 2024 as well. So for the history view, it's showing us all of those data points for the years. If we want to view those on a chart, we can click these little bar graph icons here, and it's going to put those data points on the chart for us that we can export. All right, so that is the summary table. Along with the summary table, we have the unemployed table. Unemployed table is going to give us some demographics data about those who are unemployed within our region. So it's going to start by showing us the total that are unemployed. It's going to show us the age breakdowns for those who are unemployed, gender split, race and ethnicity, if they're a veteran, and then their educational attainment if they're 25 to 64. This also we can compare here as well. And there's also a historical view for this table. So that is our unemployed table. Next, we have our household income. Household income also has that current and historical view, and we can compare. But this is going to show us the total number of households within our region, their income buckets, and then median and mean income. And then again, like I said, we have the historical view here, or we can add some comparison regions. And then lastly, we have our region stats table. So region stats has some commuting data. So it's going to show us our total employed population, if they work in the region of residence, those who work outside the region of residence, our in commuters and our net commuters. So it gives us a little commuting data about who's traveling in and out of our region here, or how many individuals. And then it's going to give us some K-12 characteristics, electricity rates, and union membership rates. This table you can compare to regions, to other regions, but there is not a historical view for the region stats table. All right, any questions about any of that? We discuss how this connects to math.
No, looks good.
Thank you. All right, so just for instance, we're gonna navigate back to our unemployed table. So if you're looking to pull bulk demographics data, this is going to be probably the easiest way to do that, outside of using just the maps analytic in general. But for instance, let's say we are researching into Hennepin County and those who are unemployed there, and I'm looking to see where my individuals who are unemployed with some college or an associate's degree live within my county. So if I go ahead and click on this blue hyperlink here for some college or associate's degree, it's going to segue over to maps, and it's going to show me at the ZICTA level where individuals live within my county that have that are unemployed and have some college or an associate's degree. So our darker sections of the map, higher concentration of individuals, the lighter colors, less of a concentration based off our key here. If we want to add some values to the map, as we can see in our key, it defaults to the percentages of individuals that live there. If we want to change that to the actual numbers, we can go, so any query within maps is going to live at the top right here. So we have our unemployed educational attainment. That's what we're looking at right now. If I hit this little gear icon here, it's going to bring up the settings for our query. So it's going to show us how you can change colors, change the title, that fun stuff. But if we hit the query tab, this is going to be actually what we're querying for within maps. So where it says display values as, I'm going to change that to numbers. So then this will have actual numbers if we were to export this. So just to show, we can add some values to the map here. So there's this labels here. I can add values, I can add the names, or I can add both. If I hit both and then hit all, it's going to add the names of the ZICTAs and then how many individuals live there that are unemployed with some college or an associate's degree. So then if I were to go to export this as Excel, it's going to give me each ZICTA along with how many individuals live there that have some college or an associate's degree and are unemployed. So I can take the breakdown of, hey, I know this many people live in my county, here's where they're actually residing. So just one way to link demographic profile to the maps analytic, and then it also will allow you to then pull that bulk data for every region underneath your larger region. So every ZICTA within our county is represented here, and we can export that to Excel, and then we have each of those individual data points. Oops. Any questions on that? Kind of a brief explanation. And if you get into the specifics of it, live chat or the help documentation, we're definitely both here to help. And then just to show a couple other things that you can do here in maps, I'm going to delete our query that we're looking at. But if I go to this data, this plus sign here, You can view the different data sets that we have available within maps. Most of our data sets that we have within JobsEQ, if they can be put on the map, they live here. So we have our demographics, industry, occupation data sets. We have a commuting to and from, along with some other options here as well. So just to show the commuting to and from, this can allow us to see who's commuting to and from our region. So for instance, if I want to see who is commuting to my county, I can choose a specific occupation or look at all occupations. And then I would choose a region display filter. So this is just going to be like, how far am I looking outside of Hennepin County? So I'm just going to set this as Minnesota just so we can see for our purposes here. And then I'm going to leave the map detail level to county since I'm querying for a county. But you could change that to dicta if you want to look at those smaller regions as well. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK so that this runs for us. There it goes. All right, so this is showing us, I'm going to add some values to my map here. It's showing us our Hennepin County here, and then where individuals are commuting from. So they're commuting to Hennepin County from where? So we can see we have the majority of individuals are right around our Hennepin County, but we have some individuals that are way up at the north and pretty far away from where they would be working to make a daily commute. One of the things to take into consideration with the commuting to and from, it is based on loads data and American Community Survey. And within those surveys, they ask, where did you work last week? So maybe someone from way up north here commuted to Hennepin County for a conference or something the week before. So to answer the question, where did you work last week? They would have to put Hennepin County down because that's where they were working for their conference or whatever they were there for. Just something to take into consideration when viewing these data sets. But that is something else that is available to you. Any questions on that?
Sorry, this darn
You're good. That's why I'm just trying to wait a second.
It takes so long to find it when it changes screens. So this is for all occupations going from the state into Hennepin County. You said you can change that to look at any profession, right? And what is the level of information we can get from that? Is that what level occupation data?
It has the option for 6-digit, but I'm not sure if it. Let's see.
I mean, some get so unhelpful, but some do.
Yeah. Okay. So this is looking at our lovely dental assistants and where they're commuting from.
Okay.
Right. So we got down to this, but I'm sure it's depending on what data is available. So if there's not, a lot for a specific in occupation, like in a smaller, like somewhere like Hennepin County has a large population, so there's more data there. But looking at
it's going to be more data,
rural,
and that's as close as you can get in for your geography, right? You can't get into the city for this.
Let's give it a try.
Because I usually use on the map for that, which is the census, and then, but it has its own limitations, like it's really old. So.
I don't know.
So you could do CSA. That's not too bad. Okay, I mean that's further out, but okay. So we're looking at county, although you could do
Zicta. So you could create like a custom,
highlight your downtown or something.
Yeah,
or a medical corridor. Okay.
Yep, and then you
could do a custom.
Yep.
Ooh, yeah, that would take a little bit of time, but once you have it, you're all right. Perfect.
Yeah, but you also can like bulk import those. So if you have like, an Excel sheet or something that has all of those written out, you could just copy and paste them into the custom regions where that bulk import is.
Sure. That's not that hard, I guess. Those are probably only 20, 15, something like that for Minneapolis.
Might take a minute, but once it's done once. Yeah.
Yeah, once it's done, it's done. Thanks.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks. All right. Any other questions with maps before we take a look at a report? I'm going to segue back to our old tools page. And then we have our reports over here. We're going to take a look at an occupation report. So as I stated earlier, these are ready-made reports that can be downloaded as a PDF or Word document. So just to stick with things here. So we first need to choose a region and an occupation, since this is an occupation report. So we're going to take a look at Hennepin County and then healthcare support occupations. We can choose the wage type, mean or median, and then we can choose either that PDF or Word document. So then over on the left here, these are the sections that are included in the report. And then if you add your company logo and name to JobsEQ, you can go ahead and click this box and it's going to add your company logo and name to the cover sheet of the report. And then these sections of the report, if you don't want a section included, you can uncheck the box. So maybe we don't want post-secondary programs in our report, we can deselect it. You also can use these dots on the side to move the different sections around. So I'm going to go ahead and hit run here so this can think. So the majority of analytics around JobsEQ, when you export, it's going to go directly to your browser exports or browser downloads. But with these larger reports, they need to process in the background for just a little bit, and then they're ready to be downloaded. This processing on the back end usually only takes a couple of minutes, but it can be delayed if a bunch of people are exporting something or running these reports all at once. If a bunch of different licenses all hit run all within a couple of minutes, it may take a little bit longer as it needs to process through those in order that they were run. But while those are running, you can navigate to anywhere else on JobsEQ. You can leave JobsEQ, come back later, and that will continue processing. Once it's done, we're going to get a little red dot up here at exports to let us know that we have an export that's ready. So while that is thinking for a moment, I'm just going to show you a couple other things, features that you have available to you. So there are different places around JobsEQ where you can save queries. We have like the report builder within Maps. You can save Data Explorer, Data Fetch, a couple different places where you can save analytics. So you can view those saved queries within the specific analytic, or all the saved queries you have will live together here in one place. So that's nice to help manage those. We also have recently added this Recents tab. So the Recents tab is going to save the most recent instance of each analytic that you were in. So let's say you were in RTI and you spec'd out a bunch of different filters, you have it all set up and ready to go, and your web browser crashes or the internet goes out or you accidentally navigate away. Instead of having to rebuild that entire thing, you can go here to Recents and then click Open, and it's going to take you to that most recent instance. So theoretically, those filters will be there for you saved, so you don't have to spec them out again. And these Recents are also, I believe at this point, being saved up to a year ago. So if you worked on something, last year this time, or, like I know 3 months ago I worked on something, you can go back through and view those things as well. All right, so we got our red dot up here for our exports. So we can go ahead and click on our exports. It says we have a completed job. So go ahead and click on that and it will download for us. So this is our occupation report for the healthcare support occupations within Hennepin County, Minnesota. If you add your company logo and name, this is where that will populate as well. So then to start our report, we have a nice little table of contents that tells us what is going to be included in our report. We have an occupation, our very first section is occupation snapshot, which we viewed earlier. So it's given us a nice little the occupation snapshot report. It's going to give us employment by industry. So we're looking at the industries that connect to our healthcare support occupations. That comes from our industry occupation mix tool. Some wage data, which comes from the occupation wage tool that we looked at earlier. Occupation demographics from occupation diversity. Education profile, and our some education attainment information. Post-secondary linkage. So if there's any post-secondary programs within the region that link to our occupation, they're listed here. And then it's going to show us our RTI profile. So it's going to show us our chart with our active jobs by day, and then those different sections of the report that we stepped through a little bit ago. And then it's taking a look at the skill and certification gaps from Skills Gap, Occupation Gap. And And then it's going to show us the geographical distribution. So it's showing us the top ZICTAs by place of work. So where the majority of people work within the county. And then it's showing us where the majority of people live within the county who work within our occupational field. Then it says, all right, here's the county that we're focusing on. And then it's going to give us any data notes that are helpful to go along with the information presented in the report. And then any frequently asked questions that go along with them as the data as well. So as I stated earlier, this is just pulling from a bunch of places all around JobsEQ. So that can be great for passing off internally, externally, or if you know you're going to be researching into a specific occupation or region, industry, etc. You can run that report to get started, and it's going to pull from all of those basic analytics, give you an overview to get started. Alrighty, so that is the occupation report. And that is my spiel. So any questions for me, anything we want to take a look at? The floor is yours.
You see that, Nate's question? Okay.
Yep, sorry. My brain was lagging.
Yeah, no, just making
I
sure.
appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. So we're looking at I don't think there's a way to like directly put like the assessment into JobsEQ and have it link. But I'm trying to think like after, like, let's say you do a career interest assessment with individual, you could then put their skills and like certificate, like within RTI, sorry, for instance, we could say, okay, here are skills that they have. We could put those into the hard and soft skill filters. And then we can say, okay, they're interested in achieving a certification in a specific field, or those interests, how those might align educationally, and we could pop those things into RTI, and then we could see what job postings might, and different job titles and occupations might align with those skills and interests. But I think that might be the extent of how that could be implemented at this point in time. But I'll give more thought to that, and if I think of anything else, I'll add that in the email to you about the exits and transfer data set. Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Any other questions for me?
Any more questions?
And if you don't have them right now, totally fine. I'll pop my email into chat here so that if you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to me individually. You can feel free to reach out to the live chat. We're available 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern time. And then if you reach out outside of those hours, we'll respond the next business day. But definitely feel free to reach out to me with any questions. If you'd like to set up any other trainings as you get into things, also feel free to reach out to me, and we can get those set up with you and your team, or one-on-one, however that works out. But yeah, any help you need, please just let me know. Reach out to the live chat. Those help docs are there for you. Your CRM, Sean is also there to assist with anything as well.
We appreciate it, Jessica, a lot. And I know at some point, and you and all of you that are on this call might want to think about it, we may want to do some deeper dives, because we like to share. We want to be able to share all the capabilities. It's going to take us all a while to dig deep and be able to really understand it. So if you guys see topics that you would like to see deeper dives on, or anything as you're starting to poke around, let me know, and then I can reach out to Jessica, and we can talk that through.
Love that. Even for like the more like bulk data pulls and stuff, like we have the Data Explorer, Data Fetch, some of those that are for those larger pools and such.
And make sure you take a look at all the support features of JobsEQ too. And there were, there's the answers and I think there was some videos too.
Mhm.
So the videos and take a look at all of that. And we want to try to take advantage and make the most of our subscription for sure.
And we're here to help every step of the way. So just let us know how we can support.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions at all for Jessica or for me for any reason?
Nope, I don't have any, but this has been, like I said, this is a really good overview.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Good job. All right. Well, I guess we will let everybody go and everybody have a good weekend. Jessica, I'll get back with you on we just have a few stragglers, but that we may just let them reach out to us when they're ready for training. So, but we got most everybody.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you.
Cool. Well,
Yeah.
have a great weekend, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so
Yep,
much.
thanks.
You too.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.